All right. Number one thing for salespeople, okay? The customer, the client is the lion, okay? You gotta respect the lion.
What's going on, guys? I am Mark Steele, and this is Simon Liu. He is now the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at autologiQ. Simon, it's been a long time. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Mark. Thank you for having me. And may I just say, you look as handsome as ever as the first day I met you.
I'm trying to match you. It's been what, since U of T, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very long time.
Yeah.
So please, I know we want to talk about autologiQ, sales, marketing, everything else, but tell us about your journey before getting to autologiQ. What was your journey from the last time I saw you back at U of T up until today?
Yeah. After school, I started off in sales actually. The first job I ever
Okay.
had was selling copiers for Xerox door to door
Classic.
in Etobicoke South, which is a tough job.
Right.
And Steve, if you're watching this, thank you, Steve. I learned a lot from you. Man, he
Yep.
was my first mentor.
Mhm.
And after that, cutting my teeth and learning the ways of cold calling and the roads, um, I wanted to start my own business. So
Mhm.
actually, like before that, I actually sold cars too. So it's kind of
Okay.
like a full career circle for me that I'm back in the auto industry. But I
Right.
sold Audis for a while, wanted to sell bigger ticket item, more affluent clientele, higher ticket sales, really, really fun. Met
Mhm.
my business partner at the job because we were really into like health and fitness. So I got a little fat because I had a baby, but I used to be
Congratulations.
really overweight. Being in sales, you understand you're always on call, you're meeting clients, you're kind of drinking, sometimes late nights. So I was like 250 pounds at one point.
Right.
And I didn't want to, eat myself to an early grave. And I'm not blessed by God with your wonderful genetics. So
Hard
I
work,
just,
bro.
yeah, man. So me and my co-founder at the time, we both got really into biohacking, and that's how we like stepped into the entrepreneurship. So
Okay.
we had a healthy meal subscription business, ran that for 3 years, was pretty profitable and like pretty successful in hindsight.
Mhm.
Our biggest day in the sun, I guess, was we were the official caterer for Suicide Squad when they were in town.
Okay. Very
So
cool.
we worked with some Hollywood people, some actresses, some professional NFL players. That's when CrossFit was really big. Still
Right.
doing sales, but like, when you're a startup, I'm just wearing all the hats, like if bills needs to be paid, if people need to call in sick, you just got to do everything.
Mhm.
So I'll just speed it up. After that, I went overseas. I was doing the same things, a startup incubator, had a little bit more VC backing, understanding how to scale the business, healthy meal business there. And then I did like a 180 from like Luke Skywalker to the dark side, where I joined a sugar factory,
Okay.
coincidentally enough. And at one point, I was really shook because I was managing marketing for them. I'm standing in the warehouse. I'm like, oh my God, it's like this Costco-sized warehouse and nothing but sugar in here, and all this
Mhm.
stuff goes in people's mouth. So I'm just trying to do the mental math on like the amount of calories that's in this warehouse, and it was just mind-boggling.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then, Hong Kong, tropical storm, not fun. Being in
Yeah.
Canada, uh, you know, we complain about the weather and the cold, but when you have solid ground underneath you, it's really blessed to be here. Came back from overseas, wanted to really learn about content creation, work for a content studio, got really into like the cinematography behind the camera, the edit, the process of like how to take long format, make it into viral clips.
Mhm.
And then I got picked up by RBC, a big corporation, had a wonderful time there, learning and doing digital marketing. And most recently, I stepped into this VP role to essentially help this very industry disruptive business. So
Right.
think of like Uber for auto service, and we're going to
Okay.
scale this out like internationally, like across North America. So just super excited. I'll stop there. Thanks, Mark.
Oh, that's a good start for sure. The first thing I wanted to ask you was back from those early days of Xerox. And for those of us who work in sales, I
Yeah.
think Xerox is one of those original companies that you hear of when it comes to sales. I think I have a book on my shelf back here about
Yeah.
sales as well. And then after that, you went to auto sales, and that's kind of a Grant Cardone niche early in the days.
Yes.
When I think of high ticket, I think of Dan Lok, all of these different names of people. So from your earliest days of sales with Xerox or from the auto industry, what sales strategies did you take from there that still apply to what you're doing now?
All right. Number one thing for salespeople, okay? The customer, the client is the lion, okay? You gotta respect the lion. When you're near
Okay.
them, That's a good close proximity. You got to behave on your tips and toes, right?
Right.
So that was the one thing that I learned was at the end of the day, all metaphors aside, you got to respect the customer, right? And
Mhm.
growing up in Japan and just vacationing from there, like
Yeah.
hospitality is sales, right? And the reason why they do such a good job is because culturally they call you ogakusama, which means like your lordship. That's
Oh,
just the
excellent.
default way to greet people when you are their customer and service and guest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the customer is the lion. I like
Yes.
that. And then from there, you said you were at a bunch of different places, went to a sugar factory. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so Sugar Factory was really fun because I had to work with Cantonese Hong Kong people, which is my culture. But I'm
Okay.
a bit of like a fish out of water, like people call me banana, I think I'm a panda, I'm like
Oh,
a mix of like all the different culture growing
I know
up
what you mean.
overseas. So going back there, it was like they could smell it off of me. They're like, "Oh, this guy ain't from around here," right?
Right.
And then there's a saying in like MBA, which is, uh, culture beats strategy for breakfast, right?
Hmm.
Because in a corporate or in a company, in a business role, everyone's talking about strategy, strategy, strategy.
Right.
But if your strategy is not accommodating of the local culture, you're going to run into all sorts of problems.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So how do you build a strong culture on the team?
This is really leadership. You have to like take care of the people that's in your charge,
Right.
right? Because we might not speak the same language, right? We might not even have the same values. We definitely have different upbringings. But when we're together, do you feel like I could take care of you? And do you trust me enough that you're going to follow me, right? Because we got to move as a unit. Business is a team game. And like,
Mhm.
salespeople are essentially like, the forwards, the attackers. Like, you got to be out there, boots on the ground, getting the business, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes what you see is an organization, communication falls apart and things just doesn't work well.
I've seen that as well, but I've also seen that with a lot of salespeople. They see themselves as being in a silo. And you've probably seen this
Mm,
in your industry. I see it in real estate as well. It's very competitive. Everyone wants to be the best. Everyone wants to get all the sales.
mm,
But from a lot of the realtors that I've spoken to, not necessarily in my brokerage, you see a lot of that
mm.
silo effect. People think they're by themselves. So how can you incorporate a bunch of individual competitive salespeople and make them feel like a part of the team?
I mean, sometimes they got to do a little soul searching, right? Whether you want to, hit rock bottom and figure it out then, or, if you want to take a trip down to Peru and do some ayahuasca, uh,
Okay.
you can't teach someone who's not self-aware, right? And generally
Right.
speaking, in this industry, personality A type, go, go, go,
Yep.
sometimes they feel like they have blinders on. But you got to understand, like, there's different forms of leverage, right? So you could leverage
Mhm.
capital, you could leverage technology, you could leverage interest, you could leverage people, right?
Right.
So anytime you grow and you expand your sphere of influence and your results in your profession and your proficiency,
Mhm.
it's inevitable you need to manage people. You got to grow the team, right?
Right.
Even in brokerage, like, yeah, you want to have your own brokerage, you want to have your own team. And the only way to do that is to understand how to like work with people, right? How to build a team. So if these people they just want to get the sales and they want to be the big fish in their own little pond, that's fine. Sometimes you just gotta wake them to the possibility, right? Because not everybody, some people are just happy, especially in real estate, right? Because it's the number one, I think, proven field to make millionaires, and there's a reason for it. And a lot of these folks in there, they might have, different pedigree, different upbringing. You don't know what kind of baggage they're carrying, but it comes down to like, dissolving your ego and understand that together we achieve more. There's an African saying actually where if you want to go somewhere fast, you go alone. But if you want to go somewhere far, you go together.
Together. I know that one for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So then all of this comes to your current role at autologiQ, VP of
Yeah.
Sales and Marketing. So clearly, as a VP, you're doing something right to have gotten there.
Thank you.
What are you doing in your role right now? And tell us about the company actually before telling us about your specific role.
Yeah. So autologic, let me just, I guess, get the mission statement
Yeah, no worries. Take your time.
so we get that correct. So our mission statement is extend the useful life of your vehicle in an easy and affordable way. That's what autologic mission is. If you had to describe it in layman's term, it's like Uber before auto service, right? It's
Thing.
Canada and North America is really weird. Let me just explain to you, like for the audience as well, from like a personal experience. So
Hmm.
I drive an Audi, and when I went to service my Audi at the Mississauga dealership, I've been going there for a while. Sometimes they give me discounts, sometimes I don't get discount. It's just one of
Yeah.
those things where like I bought the car, I want to service it, I want to take care of it, take my money, right? It's expensive, and I don't honestly know what goes into it all the time. And
Right.
this is from someone who sold cars before, who has some experience in the auto industry. So long story short, I went to Oakville one time to do some servicing. And then they were asking all these questions. I'm like, hey, I just want to pay you, drop off and go, right? What's going on? And they're like,
Mm.
oh, our service history is not connected. I'm like, what? You're both like Audi, you're both the same car. How does this work?
Right.
Like, well, like, we're not obligated to shit. Then I realized, oh, the dealership, this whole, it's kind of like a brokerage, it's agency. They're all fragmented. They're not leveraging their data, their insights. They're not leveraging the clientele together. It's just kind of one
Right.
of those like people just want to swim for themselves kind of deal. But from
Hmm.
a customer perspective, that's a terrible experience, right? Because how am
I
I
don't
supposed
know
to
it's a
trust
disconnected operation.
yeah, how am I supposed to trust my car with you now, right? If you think about a doctor, imagine going to that's the scary thing about going to a different hospital, a different country, right? They don't know your history. They give you some
Right.
medication, you're allergic. Next thing you blew up, you have a problem. Same thing can happen to
Right.
your car. You take it to some shop, you think it's all Audi, and then next thing your car's falling off, and then like you're hearing weird sounds. Like it happens.
Hmm. Okay. And then what's your role there from the sales and marketing perspective?
Yeah, so my job right now is just to find technology and marketing like attention, leverage that to spread our message and to help people, find a better way of maintaining their car instead of like having to go through what I went through.
Interesting. Okay. So you work independent of these dealerships.
Yes, so
Okay.
this is a really great point, Mark. A lot of times people don't understand we are there to advocate for you like an agent. Right? Because we're not affiliated necessarily with these shops. They are on our network. We vet them. We want to make sure
Right.
you have the best experience possible. Kind of like Uber, right?
Right.
Uber will refund you if your food doesn't taste good. Doesn't necessarily mean that the restaurant needs to refund you all the time. But that's what we are here to do is provide transparency, education to like really prove and deliver excellent customer experience.
Interesting. Okay. So let's say, for example, I'm driving my Genesis and I call you and say, "Hey, Simon, um, my tires need alignment
hmm
and I don't have access to my Mississauga shop." Where does the
hmm
process go from there?
So we have an intake process. We just collect your vehicle information, your contact information,
Okay.
and then we have an internal team, and they will find the experts that have the most amount of experience with your particular vehicle
Mhm.
around your neighborhood, and then we would just schedule. We will find the parts for you actually as well. So the funny thing
Okay.
about auto industry is that the parts is a complete separate thing, right? You have
Right.
aftermarket parts, but that's what makes this platform, what makes autologiQ so powerful is that we're able to give you that seamless transition and transparency between
Mhm.
the parts, the labor, the service all together.
Okay. So as a customer, am I working with you for a better price on all the service, or is it the convenience, or is it just a matter of trusting the person I'm working with?
Yeah, it's definitely convenience. Price wise, we guarantee like we move towards quality. We just want you to have a great experience. So it might
I
not
got
be
you.
like the cheapest shop guy down the street who's going to do it for cash, right? Like there's a lot of problem with the industry innately itself. But I
Right.
think where we really shine is convenience because it's a digital platform. We're 24/7 a day.
Mhm.
And sometimes shops are not open depending on where you are, right? We're also North America as well. Like we have roadside assistant, roadside service. So
Right.
we are on the same page as CAA, right? If you think about it, it's like everyone kind of pays for CAA. Nobody really understands what's covered, right? For autologiQ, we have car care. It's our
Mhm.
membership program, and you pay kind of like a subscription, and then
Yep.
we take care of you, right? You get complimentary oil changes and things like that, and like inspections.
That's very cool. Okay.
Yeah,
So if I'm a student just graduating from University of Toronto, for example, and
yeah.
I'm looking for a role just like yours, what's the process to get there? How do I become the VP of Sales and Marketing?
Oh man, don't do it the way I did it. Oh geez, you know how it
You
is,
took
right?
the
It's
long way
like,
around. Yeah.
yeah, the school of hard knocks, so to speak.
Right.
I my advice to young people who could just soak up and drink knowledge right now, which is
Mhm.
a wonderful time, you have to learn AI. If you know how to prompt, it's a better range. If you know how to use it, you will be miles ahead of people
Yeah.
because like everybody that I know from like us to like Fortune 500 company, the big boys, they're all looking at how to leverage this technology, right? And it's a skill set that's so new that like there's no formal necessary education. And it's not just about like building it from a very technical perspective. It's like, okay, well, can you use it? Do you know how to leverage it? Do you know how to use it specifically for marketing, right?
Hmm.
For communication, for customer service, right? Like there's so many application with this tool. That's what makes it, it's like a jack of all trades. So
Yeah.
the more you're able to like understand how to use it the best for particular niche, I think that's where you're really going to shine from an opportunity perspective.
Okay. So how do we use AI or ChatGPT specifically for a role like yours? I'm hearing about it a lot more, and obviously it's part of our everyday lives now in different ways. How do we apply it to what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to like spend a little bit of time and learn how the sausage is made, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's essentially a giant fancy autocorrect system, right? It kind of predicts what you're going to say next, but this
Right.
thing is always advancing. So, a couple of resources I would recommend is IBM has a great free AI learning course. It's about 4 hours. Just go and take a look. It's very like insightful. They give you a module so you can play with a prompt. So it's very like it's hands-on learning.
Okay.
Harvard has a great course where it teaches you like specifically how the code and the structure is a little bit more nerdy, but I find that Harvard being Harvard, they have great lecture. It's like a lot easier to listen to. If you're going to the gym, if you're on the wrong drive, you could listen to it. Take some like tests, like you pay to get the certificate if you really want it, but that's two resources. And other than that, you just have to like use it. You have to
Very
experiment with
cool.
it. Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. I like that. Now, speaking of ChatGPT, I want to
Mhm.
end all of these interviews with a random question generated by ChatGPT. So, the question that we have for you to end this off is if you can go back and give your younger self one piece of business advice, what would it be?
Don't give up. Never give up.
Never give
Right.
up.
So let me share. As I learn like entrepreneurship, leadership, business, and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and I'll quote Alex Hormozy. I like his content.
Yep.
There's three characteristics that's the most common in all hyper successful people, which is number one, they think they're better than their competitor. They're hyper competitive. Number two, they have this deep insecurity that they're never enough. So there's like external drive, like fear, and external drive and internal fear, right? So the carrot and the
Right.
stick. That's what keeps people motivated. And number three thing is delayed gratification and perseverance, just not giving up.
Like that.
Yeah.
Not giving up
Just,
is a good way to end. We've all been through an experience where we want to quit, where we want to pull back or change strategy, but sometimes if you just keep going, you could be 3 inches or 3 meters from success. So just keep going forward. Simon,
yeah.
how can people get in touch with you if they have any questions, if they want to ask more about your product, about your experience, anything else?
I just want to say amen to that. I think you summed up really wonderful. Find us autologic spelled with a Q.ca. There's a chat bot there, or you could just reach out to me, SLIU at autologic.ca. I'll leave my email out there. Happy to listen to our clientele, good and bad, right? Because that's how we improve. So thank you, Mark.
Of course. And last thing is anything that we can do for you to help support your business and your role right now.
Yeah, just keep shining, brother. And like we love to just connect more, right? I know you constantly been I see you hitting my inbox, right? The content, like
Right.
you're someone who understand perseverance. I really admire that. I want to give you your flowers.
Thank you.
And if there's any way that we could help out, always reach out, let me know. And I think like hopefully today, after introducing AutoLogic, you kind of understand like, yeah, it's kind of weird how we didn't do auto service better. And if I could help you in any way, I mean, your cars cannot say they don't break down. So happy to help you.
I could definitely use your help.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. We're gonna get a coffee in March for sure. We'll make it work.
Ciao.
All right, talk to you soon.